From Wish TV and the All Indiana Podcast Network, this is the Business, Equity, and Opportunities Podcast with Scott Sander.
Welcome to the Business, Equity, and Opportunities Podcast. I'm Scott Sander. On this episode,
we'll get an expert's economic outlook for 2024, a look back at some of the year's business milestones and the impact they may have on the year ahead. And the director of the Indianapolis Office of Minority and Women Business Development shares his thoughts on the most impactful opportunities from 2023.
Every business is unique and has a target audience. If you own or manage a business, Circulus Digital Media can help you connect and grow your customer base with turnkey digital solutions that are nimble, offering best-in-class results, service, and support to reach a bigger customer base, allowing you to pinpoint a specific audience down to the smallest details. Get outside the city, the state, span the globe. Put Circulus Digital Media to work for you. Get started now at circulusdigital.com. That's circulusdigital.com.
Welcome again to Business, Equity, and Opportunities. Access to capital is always a hot topic when starting or running a small business. As we look forward to 2024, the downs and ups of the economy will certainly play a huge role in business plans. Jeffrey Korzenik is the chief economist for Fifth Third Bank. In a recent visit to Indianapolis, he shared insights on the 2024 economic outlook. You may want to take some notes.
This is Business, Equity, and Opportunities. Access to capital.
Jeff Korzenik. I'm the chief economist of Fifth Third Commercial Bank. My role is to share Fifth Third's insight about the direction of the economy in ways that are important for businesses to understand as they do their planning and managing their business. I'm here today in Indiana because we are starting to roll out a partnership with the Kenan Institute at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. The Kenan Institute has done this amazing, massive data and analytical project which maps out forecasts for 150 microeconomies. So the greater Indianapolis area, greater Fort Wayne area, Evansville. These are all microeconomies that drive economic activity in not just a city, but the surrounding counties. For us at Fifth Third, it's an opportunity to share not just a view of the national economy, but the economy that matters so much to the individuals in the communities where we bank. What's going on in their market? What can they expect in the year ahead? And what are the long-term trends that decide success or failure as a regional economy? It's a real differentiator because what goes on in the national economy may or may not matter to the local economy. Smaller businesses tend to be geographically tied to local economic activity. This is an opportunity to help those business leaders have expectations for the year ahead and plan accordingly. We do believe it's a more challenging year. After several years of growth coming out of COVID, the baseline expectation should be for slower growth, and we believe probably tip into a very mild recession. That is something new. It should be stressed that this is a mild recession, nothing like the severe recession of the COVID lockdowns, nothing like the prolonged, painful recession of 08 to 09. This goes back to perhaps something like the early 90s, where, yes, it was a recession, but it was more a muddle through period for the economy. So small businesses obviously get stressed during economic slowdowns, but it's also an opportunity. So on one hand, they should be prepared for slower economic activity, a pullback in the consumer as unemployment rates typically go up during periods of recession. But at the same time, particularly given this is going to be, in our belief, a mild recession, they can start looking to the future. For small businesses, the shakeups that occur during recessions are also opportunities. Opportunities to outflank competitors, opportunities to acquire talent that's been freed up. So yes, it can be painful in the short term, but there's also opportunities for the long term. It's interesting because capital this cycle has already gotten a little bit more difficult. Banks have, and we see this in all the data, banks have been tightening their lending standards substantially. So yes, in recession, you do have tight lending standards, but to some ways, we're there already. As always, just being prudent managers of capital and business, not getting overextended in advance of a recession, puts you in the best position for an actual recession. It's really really always a good time to shore up that talent base. And particularly in Indiana, where you have these great educational institutions that are graduating terrific talent, but the state sometimes has a challenge retaining them, any strategies that can go towards retention are really important. Not just retention of college graduates. I'd also add it's really important to retain older workers in the workforce. So people, particularly if they happen to be in a company that has layoffs, they're older workers. In the past, we've often failed to recapture that talent. There are pathways to recapturing older workers, making sure they stay in the labor force, sometimes part-time instead of full-time. All of these things are strategies that businesses have to be thinking about in this labor-short environment. It's very much business by business, and historically, and looking broadly at the economy, the first budgets to go are marketing budgets. Then you have to manage your headcount very carefully, overtime, temp workers. In a structural labor shortage, which is where we are today, with baby boomers retiring, didn't have enough births 20 and 30 years ago. In a structural labor shortage, you want to be very careful about losing headcount because it's hard to recapture. Doesn't mean you don't reduce headcount where you have to, or make sure that you're retaining key employees, but you have to be much more thoughtful about this cycle than previous cycles. It's always a challenge in difficult times because we are stewards of our depositors' money as well as stewards of our investors' capital. And so, but fundamentally, we believe at Fifth Third you build a better bank by building a better community, and that includes the local economy, which is one of the reasons that we're introducing this partnership with UNC at the Keenan Institute to make sure that we are helping serve smaller businesses, and local communities to help them prosper. So for me, at Fifth Third, we've had a particular focus on workforce. And we were one of the early companies to warn businesses that the labor shortage was coming. We hope that helped them better prepare. But what I love about focusing on the workforce is that we help people reach their dreams and aspirations. We're not just solving our business owners' labor problems, we're offering people pathways to advancement and meeting their personal goals. And that gets me up every morning.
It is time on Business Equity and Opportunities, where we talk about the week in business, or in this case, the year in business. Emil Echior is the founder and CEO of InnoPower Indy and frequent contributor to our show. We asked him to take a look back on some of the significant moments of 2023 for the minority business community in Indianapolis. He shares his thoughts and expectations for 2024.
This is Business, Equity, and Opportunities. This Week in Business.
There was so much activity in 2023 around black businesses, especially in creating the right environment here in Indy. One of the things I look at is the Indianapolis Urban League and the African American Quality of Life Initiative. Over $40 million given out in grants to local organizations to support businesses and other activities in our communities. That was game-changing. A lot of these organizations never get a chance to get any money. And to be able to get dollars to make a difference in their communities, you could feel the energy that came from just that alone. So that was definitely a huge win for our city and our region, to have that much dollars go out to support organizations who are providing supports for businesses in our communities. Raleigh was in town. Huge win for Indianapolis. Having such a big conference by Elevate Ventures. Magic Johnson was here. So many people came to Indy, really helped put Indianapolis on the map as far as just all the energy, everything that's happening in the city today. So those are just two things that I just think of off the top of my head as far as things that happen to help, one, create an environment that supports business and business growth in Indy, and then just putting the city on the map as far as, hey, look, we are open for business, and we actually do business in the city. I tell people all the time, we do common sense things here, right? Everybody knew that the environment just was not right for business to flourish, and people wanted to do something. It would have been so easy to double down on what another state is doing, but we created local things. We had business equity for Indy. that was created to create more access to supply diversity opportunities. The city of Indianapolis just increased their energy around making sure more black businesses had access to contractual opportunities. The Urban League and the Lilly Endowment grant that came in a couple years ago that said, you know what, we want to support these pillars, we want to support business growth in our city, and let's give the money to a local black organization that understands their community and can get the money out to people. Those things were really, really big and helped set the foundation for other activities to happen. We have individual activities happening around talent. Lily's has a great plan for recruiting and retaining talent for Lily's. Cummins has a great plan for doing that. Elevance has a great plan for doing that. But we don't have a collective plan on how we want to do that. And that is the biggest opportunity we have as a city is how do we portray our city to people outside of Indy? When you come to Indy, what is the placemaking? How do we welcome and keep you here? We haven't come together to create that collective plan. But what we do have is that we have individual plans on how, and those companies are doing really well. I think the next step for us is to create a collective plan on how we want to attract diverse talent to our city. What is our story? And then when you get here, what kind of environment have we created to make you feel welcome and you want to stay in Indy? That is the next step for us as a city and as a community. But until we have a collective story where all those companies come together and agree on how we'll do this together, it won't be sustainable. We'll continue to have hits and misses as people come, see the city, may not like it, leave, may not like the environment they're going into because we haven't created a collective plan. When you look at Indianapolis and look at a lot of our black entrepreneurs and business owners who've generated wealth, they did that through supply diversity opportunity. They got a contract from one of our anchor companies, the city or the state. They did really well with that first contract, kept getting those, and they built big businesses doing that. So how do we replicate that? What we never created was a process to say, hey, look, here's how you start, here's where you get support, here's how you learn how to bid for a contract. But when we see so many of our, use the word wealthy black entrepreneurs that got their start from supplier diversity, it only makes sense for us to replicate that. But we have to build out the process, and that's kind of the opportunity in 2024. So being able to connect the dots and build a more connected ecosystem is really what's going to lead to success. What we can't do is build things that we know are not going to work. So the innovation, the ideation is what gets us excited, right? Like we're actually moving towards this direction, but we're not doing it with just one organization. We're doing it in concert with several organizations. So when that happens, things work better that way. But we're also glad that we have an environment in Indy. I tell people what makes Indy really unique is we have black media in Indy, right? And that's not prevalent, and I think we take that for granted in our city. To be able to tell these stories consistently, to be able to show black business owners doing the work, grinding through the process, those things inspire other people to want to start a business. So we're really grateful that we are building this ecosystem. And I don't think we sat down and said, oh, we're going to have black media outlets, we're going to have BEI. All of those things happen organically. Now we got to bring it all together so it can be more efficient.
Each week, we bring you information and updates on opportunities and events that affect how small businesses run in Indiana. David Fredericks is the director for the Indianapolis Office of Minority and Women Business Development. His task is to advance equity and opportunities for businesses in the community. He looks back at some of the most significant events from the past year and how they'll impact 2024 and beyond.
This is Business, Equity, and Opportunities. Running your business day to day.
First and foremost, the city taking ownership of the new hotel and convention center expansion happening at Pan Am Plaza this past spring was that's a game changer, because this is a project that will change the city skyline for years to come. It was not something that anybody had on their radar screen, at least not from our office. And so when this project was brought to the city in May, we saw the opportunities that it was going to create. And so we've been excited. It's been a lot because we probably have had to do about 6 months of outreach and education on the project that normally would be done in a year to 2 years for a normal project. So because of the timeline of this project, with the doors needing to be open by the fall of 2026, we've had to jump in with both feet, along with CIB as well as the general contractors, AECOM Hunt, to just sort of get this project moving. And so I think we're in a good place with that. I think the other one was the significant gift that Indy Parks received from the Lilly Endowment at the beginning of the year, the $80 million. That was another unforeseen gift to the city of Indianapolis. And so that $80 million is going to create opportunities for diverse businesses to work within the city park system for the next 2 to 3 years to upgrade a lot of the park system's facilities, to create some new spaces. And so we're excited about that. We've been working closely with Indy Parks on that piece. And then I'd say lastly was probably the passing of the budget, where we passed over $1 billion in infrastructure funding to DPW. This is much needed work that the city has been looking at and hoping to be able to do for the last couple of years. And so now we have those dollars, and that's going to be work to redo roads and streets and sidewalks, and looking at all those areas where folks have said the city is neglected for years. We now have the funds to try and do that work. And so that's going to create opportunities for the next 4 to 5 years. And so we're excited. Like I said, our office is just working with all the different city agencies to help them reach their goals for these projects. But more importantly, we want to make sure, like I said, that our diverse vendors have access to these opportunities, that they know who they need to go and talk to about it, and that they're aware of things as they're being rolled out. So those would be the big three that I can say that came out this year that we're excited about. You can see development all over the place in downtown, and I think that will continue. I think also we will start to see more outreach into other parts of the city with some redevelopment projects. As you know, we work closely with a lot of private developers who are doing a lot of mixed use retail living spaces all around the city. And so for those who do come into the city requesting assistance, we work with them to try and get diversity on those projects. I think we will also see renewed emphasis on affordable housing development. And so we will work closely with a lot of our for-profit as well as non-for-profit CDCs and things of that nature, those entities that will be hopefully filling that gap to build those new affordable units. We want to make sure that diverse businesses have an opportunity to be a part of those projects and to help expand and build those. There's a couple of other projects that we know are going to be happening. I think everyone remembers we had the launch for the new hotel that TWG will be doing at Old City Hall. That's a project that we anticipate probably getting off the ground the latter part of the summer. So we'll be working with TWG on that project to make sure that we've got diversity on that project. And then other things, like I said, will be a carryover. All the work that Indy Park will be doing, the DBW projects will be ramping up and starting as soon as the weather's good. So we'll be working with them. And then, of course, we're waiting to see what will happen with the new soccer stadium for Indy 11. So if that's a project that comes on board, we will be definitely assisting them to make sure that we get some diverse participation on that project as well. But I think right now Indianapolis Indianapolis is in, a boom from a development standpoint. There are opportunities. And so we just have to do a better job of making sure we try and spread that out across the board. We'll be paying particular emphasis on trying to get professional services more engaged, because a lot of times, by the time these projects come to us, the professional services side of the work is already done. So we're hoping to try and get them engaged earlier in this process to get them some work. But then also, working with the city in terms of making sure that all the procurement opportunities that we have as a city agency, that we're making sure that those opportunities are getting out to folks who have supply companies and things of that nature. So there's a lot of opportunities. I think everybody is rejuvenated. We've gotten past the fall, and now we're looking forward to 2024 and just continuing to work.
Our thanks again to all the contributors who joined us for this episode of the Business Equity and Opportunities podcast. We hope you found it enlightening, useful, and inspiring. You'll find more information about the show on our website, BEOshow.com. You can watch Business Equity and Opportunities Sunday mornings at 10 on Wish TV, or live stream it through wishtv.com. Each week we provide 7 full segments with topics ranging from how to get started and how to access capital to the day-to-day running of your business and questions about accounting and bookkeeping. We feature business news and trends and always share a success story from one of our contributors. Join us next time for more insights into the world of small business. Be sure to sign up for our Business Equity and Opportunities newsletter to get even more valuable, up-to-date information. And if you have any questions or you'd like to be part of our show, please email us. The address is beo@wishtv.com. We'd love to hear from you. I'm Scott Sander. Thanks for listening.
Watch the Business Equity and Opportunities show on Wish TV and access all of our content and share it on demand anytime at BEOshow.com. You can find more podcasts from Wish TV on the All Indiana Podcast Network at allindianapodcastnetwork.com.